Just an FYI that we are live and picking up some background sound.
she did all that online. And she had to fill out some paper and sorry, guys.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this very special evening of storytelling. It celebrates the stories of all of you, ESU members, students, and alumni of our programs, teachers, volunteers, friends, and supporters. Your stories are about building this organization into the true fellowship among people who share commitment to expanding minds, strengthening friendships, and unlocking opportunities through the power of the English language. The idea for this evening came from our year-long celebration of the ESU Centennial that culminated in the October 21st, 2020 gala. We heard from many of you about how you got involved in the ESU, how participating in the ESU brought joy and made a difference in your lives, and how this impact inspired you to give back. It became clear that your stories and the stories of the English-speaking are the stories of the English-speaking Union, whose rich legacy is built on your commitment, generosity, aspirations, hard work, and triumphs. We wanted to collect and preserve your stories so that the next ESU generations find inspiration and an example to follow. We invited you to share your memories about meeting an extraordinary person, attending a special event. We asked you to introduce us to a lost piece of branch history, impact knowledge you gain through our programs, or simply make us laugh with a charming tale. All of your stories we've gathered will be preserved in a specially created website, a virtual time capsule. It is under construction and will be unveiled once our team has put the final touches on its design, so stay tuned. And we also promise you we were inspired with some of those stories, selected by our panel as the ones expressing the essence of the English-speaking Union. In the spirit of the evening, we'll be introducing the English-speaking Union Heritage Society and salute its members, those who've been with us with the ESU for 20 years plus. There will also be some lovely music on the program tonight brought to you by the Oxford Philharmonic. Thanks to our chairman, Dr. Paul Beresford Hill. And now I would like to welcome His Excellency, Dr. Paul Beresford Hill, Chairman of the National Board of Directors of the English-Speaking Union of the United States. Paul?
Thank you very much indeed, Karen. Very, very kind of you. And on behalf of the English-Speaking Union and of our Board of Directors, I would like to welcome all of you for this wonderful occasion. Tonight, we're celebrating your stories. And as Karen pointed out, they're the story of this extraordinary organization dedicated to friendship, to education, to the exchange of ideas through the English language. I know that for many of you, becoming a part of the English-Speaking Union as a member, as a volunteer, student, participant in our educational programs has been something of a turning point in your lives. I know this because over the years of my own involvement in the ESU, I've been talking to fellows, friends, members, reading, listening to your stories, listening to your testimonials. I also know from firsthand and personal experience, because my life and the ESU have been closely intertwined. I love to tell the story about how the ESU became an important part of my life in more ways than one, but some of you will have to hear it again because you may have heard it before, and I apologize if I'm repeating myself. As a young British teacher working in Milton Keynes, a town about 50 miles northwest of London, I applied for a teaching job in New York. The American headmaster of the school in New York that I was applying to was frequently in London, and I got a cryptic note from the recruitment company that was recruiting teachers for private schools in England and happened to have this American client on his books. The company was called Gabbitas and Thring. And I have to tell you, it's like something out of a Dickens novel. When I went there to be interviewed with them before I applied to this American school, it was like going into Dickensian England. But the headmaster, the American headmaster, was frequently in London, and he invited me to this strange place called Dartmouth House, King Charles Street, London. Well, the rest is history as far as my life is concerned, because as soon as I got to America, I joined the ESU. I arrived in 1974 and on more than one occasion enjoyed afternoon tea at the old clubhouse on the Upper East Side. My wife, Catherine, and I were married in Yorkville, in New York, in 1976 on April 11th. and we held our wedding anniversary at the English Speaking Union. That, I have to say, was one of the most wonderful, wonderful days of my life. We cut our wedding cake on the stairway under the portrait of Winston Churchill, which now hangs in the vestibule of the ESU offices on 39th Street. Another memorable and remarkable vignette of the long and enduring relationship that Kathy and I have had with the English Speaking Union, something that we both treasure. You'll hear stories tonight, some like this, some by much more accomplished raconteurs, all of them giving heart, soul, vision, and imagination to the English Speaking Union. I had the privilege and challenge of being on the reading panel of tonight's contest. Having to decide which of your fantastic accounts were my favorite, well, there were some droll ones, there were some touching ones, there were some that talked about important moments in the ESU's past, and it was really difficult to choose which ones stood out. Extremely difficult, and I'm only thankful that the actual judging didn't entirely fall on my shoulders. It was a shared responsibility. I'd like to thank all of you who put pen to paper, so to say, who submitted narrative accounts, who sent in photographs and videos. They all paint a vivid, vivid picture, a centennial snapshot of the English-speaking union's legacy. They will be preserved so that future generations will perhaps learn from the things we did right, things we did wrong, and that they'll all be inspired by the successes that have marked the growth and development of this incredible organization. I now have the privilege of passing the microphone to the ESU president, Dr. Quinn Pieper, who will guide us through this evening. Dr. Pieper.
Thank you, Paul. I would also like to welcome everyone to this special evening of storytelling. This evening celebrates all who have been touched by the English-speaking union, whose lives have been enriched by being part of this fellowship. I also have a story of my own to tell. It started in the late 1990s thanks to a chance encounter with Walker Ronaldson of New Orleans. He was a bon vivant local character and then the president of the ESU New Orleans branch. Actually, this flower arrangement has a trophy that we presented to Walker after 18 years of service in the English-speaking union. I had heard about the ESU when I studied at Oxford University, and then later in New York at Columbia for medical school, I had tea several times at ESU's Upper East Side townhouse. Like many of you, I and my husband Michael Harold joined the organization attracted by the rich social life it offered, fascinated with people we would meet and all the exciting parties, lectures, and meetings that we would attend. And just like many of you, we found ourselves captivated by the institution's many civic aspects, by its mission to advance goodwill and understanding among people and countries, and to open up opportunities through the use of the English language. Shortly after joining the organization, Walker put me on the board and advocated strongly for our branch to be part of the National Shakespeare Competition. The New Orleans branch has been participating in this wonderful program since the late 1990s. Over the years, Michael and I have personally supported ESU programs, in particular for immigrants and English language learners, and in 2012, Michael and I helped fund the necessary startup to receive the gift from the Andrew Romay New Immigrant Center. And in gratitude, the Arnick Student Lounge at the ESU headquarters is named for us. The T-Lab scholarships for teachers, secondary school exchange program, Lord Marsh scholarships for brilliant students from historically black colleges and universities. All of these educational programs are for advancing the admirable education mission of our organization. During our many years of involvement with ESU, we have attended many wonderful parties and met fascinating individuals, such as writer Flora Frazier, Vogue and Newsweek editor Julia Reed, Lady Henrietta Spencer Churchill, Lady Lucinda Shaw Stewart, both of whom came to New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina to do a historic houses and gardens symposium. Alison Weir, the writer, and many members of Parliament, including Patrick Nichols, as well as Prince and Princess Michael of Kent. But along the way, we have also found deep reward and fulfillment in supporting and advancing the ESU's educational programs that benefit so many students, teachers, new immigrants, and English language learners. So we joined for parties, drinks, and entertaining, fascinating personalities, but it has turned out to be so much more than just that. We've been enriched by ESU. We love the mission, the members, the speakers, and the events. ESU is certainly a lifelong passion at this point. And that's why I'm so thrilled to be with you tonight for this wonderful evening of memories and inspiration. And to help us get in the right mood, we'll start off with a special treat tonight, a performance of Edward Elgar's Chanson de Matin by the Oxford Philharmonic Orchestra. With this gift of music, the Oxford Philharmonic Orchestra is sending its heartfelt greetings to all of us. It is a token of the shared commitment to bringing people together, building bridges, and forging friendships. I would also like to thank Dr. Paul for his gift of music. It was made possible through his many years of involvement with Oxford University and the Oxford Philharmonic. As a passionate music lover and an amateur pianist, I'm tempted to seize the opportunity to introduce the founder and music director of the Oxford Philharmonic, but I will leave this honor to Dr. Paul Beresford-Hill, who brought this experience to us this evening.
Sorry, I was unmuted there. Now I am back. Thank you very much indeed, Quinn. That's very, very kind of you to say those kind words. Quinn is not only our president. In a way, he could also be termed the ESU's own master of music. Like me, he graduated from Oxford University, so we both have enormous pride and distinct pleasure in introducing to you my dear friend, Dr. Marios Papadopoulos. He's a world-renowned pianist and conductor. He is the founder and the music director of the Oxford Philharmonic Orchestra. I met him several years ago when I was asked to assist in the promotion of the Oxford Philharmonic in the United States. And I had the privilege of attending a number of fundraising events in the city, but also got to know him personally and got to understand and appreciate the extent of the work that he had done in creating this fabulous, fabulous orchestra. He made his debut in London in 1975. The Times described his piano recital as, quote, having all the attributes of one of the world's greatest piano players. He has built an enviable reputation and an international career, both as a pianist and as a conductor. He has appeared as soloist and has conducted many of the world's great orchestras, worked with a host of eminent musicians, including Vladimir Ashkenazy and Sophie Mutter, Maxim Vengrov, René Fleming, Martha Argerich, and Lang Lang. Dr. Papadopoulos established the Oxford Pro Musica in 1998, and in 2015, it was renamed the Oxford Philharmonic Orchestra. It is the university's orchestra in residence, one of the leading orchestras in the UK. Its reputation is grounded in the uncompromising artistic standards of its founder and music director. Dr. Papadopoulos holds a doctorate in music from City University in London and is both a member of the Oxford University Faculty of Music and a fellow by special election of Keble College, Oxford. He was awarded an MBE in the 2014 New Year's Honours List for services to music in Oxford. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Marios Papadopoulos.
Dear friends, it is a great honor to be part of the English-speaking Union's centenary celebrations. On this special occasion, I congratulate you all for having built this venerable organization into a force for good, bringing people together and fostering goodwill and understanding through the use of the English language. I send greetings to you from Oxford and the Oxford Philharmonic, the orchestra in residence at the University of Oxford. My colleagues and I are delighted to be able to share our music with you tonight. Just like the English-speaking Union, we are firmly committed to bringing people together through the beauty and magic of music. We salute the English-speaking Union of the United States and all of you who have contributed to its achievements. Thank you.
Wow, that was heavenly. Thank you, Maestro Papadopoulos, Oxford Philharmonic, for that wonderful performance. And thank you, Dr. Paul, for making this possible. We have a special treat tonight. Ava Bloom, the 2020 English Speaking Union National Shakespeare Competition winner, will perform her submission to the contest, an epic poem telling the story of her journey to winning the ESU National Shakespeare Competition. Ava Bloom was sponsored by the Washington, D.C. branch and was tutored by Jim Mahady of Georgetown Day School. As you will see tonight, Ava is an accomplished performer and a gifted poet. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Ava Bloom reading her poem, Shakespeare Who?
Hello, my name is Ava Bloom, and today I'm going to be reading my second place winning 100 Years, 100 Stories poem, which is a free-form retelling of my experience as the 2020 ESU National Shakespeare Monologue Competition winner. A little context, I'm from Washington, D.C., born and raised, and I attend Georgetown Day School as a rising junior. I first learned about the English Speaking Union from a friend who was taking level 2 acting class at school, and that class was participating in that year's Shakespeare monologue competition. Even though I wasn't taking acting 2 at the time, I decided to try the competition anyway to dip my toes a little further in the world of Shakespeare. And what followed has turned out to be one of the most amazing experiences of my life, even amidst the COVID-19 pandemic on top of it all. I didn't expect to win first place there, just as I didn't expect this poem to win second place here. This poem recounts my ESU experience, and I hope you enjoy it. Shakespeare, who? Thanks to the ESU, I've developed a love for the bard's work too. Who knew? I wasn't even in acting 2, my class at school, yet out of the blue, heart pounding, nerves racing, I said, I'll try it. A competition seems fit. Why not have some fun? After all, acting isn't just an award to be won. One by one, several hundred sonnets, a million monologues. Not really, but you get what I mean. Father and teacher, Bloom and Mahady, potatoes and gravy were my guides as I peeked at sonnets numbers 120 to -80. There were a lot, I thought. Have no clue if I even got what it takes, but they say, never doubt yourself any day. Julia's monologue, The Two Gentlemen in Verona. Little did I know the world would be struck by Corona. During PE class and lunch, I was lucky to have friends who made me confident, a bunch. Patiently seeing me perform, they made me feel assured, reborn. A pat on the back, I left ready to attack. Then, on February 12th, 2020, after many weeks of practice and study, I entered the room of Acting 2, where the school-wide competition would commence very soon. A nervous wreck, had to double check, should I go through with this or hide in a hole, shrink down to a speck? Competition, comparison, eyes shifting, brave mustering. Please come on in, judges say, begin. Breathe. All the self-doubt enters out the back door. You're no longer Ava, you're Julia once more. I look as my maid leaves the room before dropping to the ground with an almighty boom. Oh, hateful hands! When I finish, there is no hate, for the hands who clap are ones who've determined my fate. But in that moment, full of enjoyment, I floated through the halls free of stress, bitterness, or disappointment. No matter what happened, I soared feeling great. With my fellow competitor friends, we skipped on down the hallway. And 2 hours later, a call to something greater appeared in my inbox, the sweetest of flavors. The judges had chosen me for number 1. To the finals I'd go with my dear friend Lauren. My teacher, Jim Mahady, wrote here, please see. And now you also need to prepare a sonnet. Come see me and I'll guide you. Anyway, the next round is on March 2, so there's time, but I'd get on it. 116, sonnet dream. Worked each day, at first not sure which way to lean, but the doghouse is where I worked on the grand scheme. Boy, am I lucky to have such a great team. I think the lounge is where my dad and I used to reside as we went over things from joy to strife, acting to life, both. This cozy place is, in truth, the place where I've done the most self-growth. I practiced being myself. There's a reason Shakespeare has outlived everything on the shelf. talking to a friend who thought there were plenty of fish in the sea. Well, not to the kid in Sonnet 116. This piece is a testament to humanity. One by one, regional branch at Madeira High, DMV, wearing my purple sweater, all the finalists convened. I was shiver me timbers until 2 or 3 kids before me. Then I took a deep breath and became Julia. On the edge of the stage, I looked out into the light. Once you become someone else, your act will take flight. I was quite young. I was bursting with pride. New York, New York, time to strap in for the ride. COVID-19, every actor's dream. Once word came around, we'd perform virtually. No more New York, but that is okay. For in acting, you're transporting yourself every day. Working from home, I was never alone. Support from my fam as I prepped for nationals. Virtual auditions, semifinals, watching Netflix on the couch, the email came round, holding my breath as I stared at the ground, peeking at the screen. Top 10 Ava Bloom was announced. Only one student at school had made it this far. Was there a chance I could lift up the bar? In the doghouse and my bedroom, I would rehearse and pace all afternoon, adjusting the camera to find the perfect angle. Dad and I prepared for the live Zoom finals. Just as nervous behind screen as on stage, I thought of Julia, who was simply enraged. I had nothing to fear. My character was elsewhere engaged. Hello, my name is Ava Bloom, and today I will be performing Julia's monologue from the 2 Gentlemen of Verona, followed by sonnet number 116. My performance went a dream. Sweating, ecstatic, returned to virtual classes, acting like nothing happened, and 2 hours later, the virtual ceremony was activated. One by one, they worked up the ranks, name by name, and everyone would clap, hoping to place, yet not to be the next called. That is the curse of the first place ballad. The host would like you to unmute. I kept ignoring this request, a little confused, but seconds before first place, the request became urgent, and suddenly I knew what news would be emerging. I didn't expect it, yet here I was. First place at nationals, my whole family was abuzz. This was my greatest accomplishment yet, but there is something I cannot forget. Behind every great actor is a great teacher and director. I learned to be real and live truthfully, acting, not pretending. That's what my teacher said. It's the recipe for success on my long journey ahead. One thing I now know after driving down that bumpy road, Shakespeare is always on the rise. He captures humanity, and it's endured to no surprise. The English-speaking union opened up our eyes. With this experience I've learned, it was the greatest prize. Thank you.
Thank you, Ava Bloom. To announce the winner of the first contest category, Photo with Captions, I would like to introduce Miss Susie Fowler-Watt, presenter at BBC. Miss Fowler-Watt's connections to the English-speaking union run deep. Her mother, Sheila Fowler-Watt, was the first female student in the secondary school exchange in 1955, after it became a coeducational program. An alumna of the program, Susie graduated from Cambridge University, where she studied, or read as the British say, philosophy and experimental psychology. After completing her postgraduate degree at the London College of Printing, she joined the BBC Radio and rose to the ranks as a new producer, news editor, and presenter reporting on national and international affairs. She has interviewed many of the leading politicians of the day, including Prime Ministers Tony Blair, John Major, and Gordon Brown. To this day, Ms. Fowler-Watt credits her time as a secondary school exchange scholar for inspiring her academic interests and forming her future career as a journalist and political analyst. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Susie Fowler-Watt.
Greetings from across the Atlantic. My name is Susie Fowler-Watt and I'm here in Norfolk in the UK. I'm hugely honoured to be part of this celebration of the ESU. The ESU has changed countless lives, as we know, including my own and other members of my family. In fact, my family's ESU story began back in 1955 when my mother, Sheila Bainon, won the Isabel Carden Griffin Memorial Scholarship. She was just 18 when she got on the Queen Elizabeth ship and travelled for 5 days over to America to study at the Master's School in Dobbs Ferry. A huge thing for a girl like her to do. She'd lived a very sheltered life, but she was very strong and she was very determined, and she made a huge success of her year, helped enormously by the warmth of the welcome she received. She made lifelong friends during that year. I've got a couple of pictures here to share with you, actually. One is from her yearbook, and the other is when she went up the top of the Empire State Building. She then passed on her love of America and her love for the ESU to her children. My eldest brother Andrew followed in her footsteps first. He came over on a schoolboy exchange to Lawrenceville in Princeton and had the most fantastic experience. And then in 1986, I followed him and went to Hotchkiss in Connecticut and had simply the best year of my life. And not only was it the most incredible year, but it was a year that changed the course of my life because I had a place to read medicine at university. I'd been on a course to become a doctor all of my teenage years. But the independence I gained through this scholarship, the growth of me as an individual, the chance to pursue my passions rather than academic success, meant that I changed what I wanted to do. I studied philosophy at Hotchkiss, I did a huge amount of drama, and I came back and I went to Cambridge University and studied philosophy there. Actually, if you look at this picture from my yearbook, one of my friends that I'm pictured with is Julie Kotler, who then came on an exchange back to the UK the following year in 1987. And I've stayed in touch with Julie all this time. And recently she was back in Bath, very near where she went to school. She was on the set of a TV production being made based on books that she'd written under her pen name Julia Quinn. That TV production was Bridgerton. And Julie said that it was especially lovely being back in Bath because it brought back all those memories of her happy school days. Both my mother and I have stayed very involved in the ESU since our wonderful experiences. And my mother, who sadly died earlier this year, spent a lot of time doing interviews and selecting candidates for the teacher exchange. So I know she'd be very pleased with the winner of this next category, the photography competition, because the winner is a teacher who has benefited from the ESU. It's Kate Nitzken. Kate is currently president of the ESU's Kentucky branch, but in 2009 she won a T-Lab scholarship and came over to the UK and spent an amazing time at the Globe Theatre in London. So well done, Kate. Very well deserved.
Hello, I'm Kate Nitzken, and I'm happy to be sharing my story with so many English-speaking union members today. My experiences with the Kentucky branch encouraged me to become a committed branch president and avid branch member for the past 13 years. Each person's impact in the organization as volunteer, participant, and cheerleader cannot be overestimated. Like you, I have met wonderful people as a teacher scholar, branch member, and volunteer with both my branch and the national organization. I encourage those of you watching today to see how your own story can improve the ESU and build a love of scholarship to encourage the community around you. Let the ripple continue. Scholarship in the English-speaking Union. London's deep darkness and oppressive heat, combined with the overwhelming sense of where I stood, the magnitude of the experience threatening to make me forget my lines. I perched alone on the upper stage with a bird's-eye view of the crowd milling about. The performance of Romeo and Juliet on the New Globe Theatre stage was about to begin. I spotted the first cast members entering the yard, heading to their places, and weaving through the audience. Still, I waited for my cue. The lighting over the groundlings dimmed, and I whispered a brief prayer. My voice rang out the ancient church hymn chosen by the theater practitioners, signaling the start of that well-known tragedy of love. Oh, to hear your voice in that marvelous O, so tonal and full from the natural acoustics. The sound of the human voice in that theater was unlike anything I've ever experienced. My voice carried on the night air, linking me into the very fabric of Shakespeare's legacy. The final performance of the 3-week course, Teaching Shakespeare Through Performance, left an indelible mark on me as a woman, performer, and teacher. If only all teachers of English could be so fortunate as I to live what we teach by performing in a living, working museum of language. I was selected for this honor as the 2009 Kentucky Branch Teacher Scholar through a rigorous selection process established by our branch board of directors in the 1960s. Our branch president at the time, Sylvia Bruton, observed my commitment to my students' participation in the 2008 Kentucky Shakespeare competition. She recommended that I apply for the scholarship, and although hopeful, I doubted I would be chosen to be part of the program. She saw me in a drop of creativity, and her interest in my own creative participation started the ripple. Fortunately, due to the strong board of director commitment and member funding, countless Kentucky scholars have been sent to study in the British Isles. To date, our branch has sent 512 scholars, with another 2 slated for 2021. Our scholarship committee carefully selects the finest students and teachers to experience the life-changing knowledge acquired in this wonderful scholarship program. Kentucky plans to send scholars far into the future. The legacy of our program can be seen by observing the astounding life accomplishments of past recipients. I consider myself fortunate to be one of the attorneys, teachers, professionals, politicians, and artists selected as Kentucky Branch Past Scholars. At the Globe, teachers gain techniques to provide rich and active instruction for their own students while digging deep through the ancient texts, learning more about the life of the bard. We participated in Shakespeare scavenger hunts, played theater games, chunked arcane text, danced across the stage, and learned to appreciate the careful Globe methods of preservation. These techniques are experienced through studying period costumes, sets, and theater construction. Live theatrical performances by outstanding artists in the Globe provide a much deeper understanding of life during Shakespeare's day. Like archaeologists, we dug through the coursework and grasped experiences in order to build a deeper connection for our students to better understand the legacy of the great playwright. Over the years, I have taught thousands of students the Globe techniques, improving as I went along. The memories of watching young Britons learn through these targeted techniques establishes real-world practices. My course mates have shared with thousands of students during their teaching careers. No doubt, these extraordinary teachers' lessons continue to reach far beyond our Globe experiences. The ripple continues. Since I currently serve as branch president for Kentucky, I became that president because the scholarship made such an impact on me. Now, one of my past students, Kana Hibsman, is a young teacher of English and is slated to go to the Globe to study teaching Shakespeare through performance as soon as the limitations on London lift. The Kentucky branch selected her based on her deep interest in studying Shakespeare the Globe way. Kana experienced the power of my scholarship ripple firsthand as a student at South Oldham High School, and this bright teacher would like to attend in order to improve the effectiveness of her own classroom instruction. She awaits her opportunity, serving on the Kentucky Board of Directors because of the powerful impact my instruction had in her own life. While the ESU National Scholarship Program has a rich history of sending students and teachers to study at Oxford, Cambridge, Edinburgh, and the Globe Theatre, the true legacy of the ESU can best be observed in the Study Abroad Scholarship Program, providing courses that offer a powerful educational impact, solidifies the true purpose of the English-speaking Union. Scholars remember, repeat, and celebrate through learning that enhances the meaning of life, letting the ripple continue. Being drenched in these types of lessons burrows deep and remains, outliving our short human lives to become the true legacy of our organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. The ESU boasts a long history, 100 years. Over that time, the organization has amassed a treasure trove of documents and memorabilia, Some of it collected in its own archive and vault, some donated by members. For the first time, curated items from this collection have been offered at a charitable auction to all ESU members. Precious items include a framed handwritten letter from Winston Churchill, the English-speaking Union of the United States 50th anniversary coin inscribed, quote, "English the first language spoken on the moon," quote, Queen Elizabeth memorabilia, and a collection of recorded speeches from George VI, the real King's Speech, on vinyl. Just take a listen.
Perhaps the most faithful in our history, I send to every household of my people, both at home and overseas, this message, spoken with the same depth of feeling for each one of you as if I were able to talk your threshold and speak to you myself. For the second time in the lives of most of us, we are at war. Over and over again, we have tried to find a peaceful way out of the differences between ourselves and those who are now our enemies.
Of course, all proceeds will be put to good use. You will be supporting the ESU's educational programs that benefit more than 60,000 people every year. The auction doesn't end until June 28th, so you certainly have more time to bid. Now, to announce the winner of the next contest category for video, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Mrs. Susan Matheson Ferris. Having graduated from the College of William and Mary, University of Minnesota, and University of Wisconsin with degrees in English literature and education, Susan has taught high school and English for many years, worked in marketing for major corporations, and started a successful messaging and crisis media consulting firm whose clients have included such big names as McDonald's, Amoco, Arco, Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation, several Native American tribes, Volunteers of America, and many others. Susan was a longtime ESU Portland branch president and is currently serving on the ESU National Board of Directors. A generous patron and activist, Susan has been deeply involved in the ESU programs in the Portland area, including the ESU National Shakespeare Competition and English in Action one-to-one conversations. And personally, Susan has attended several of the Historic Homes and Gardens tours that I organized back in the time when I was head of the patron committee, and Susan would show up with 2 bags and leave with 20. She loved these tours. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Susan Matheson Ferris.
Hello, my name is Susan Ferris. I'm a national board member for ESU US. Previously, I was president of the Portland, Oregon branch of ESU US. Both jobs, assignments have been enlightening and very enjoyable. And they have led me to this opportunity, which I'm grateful for, which is to introduce you to the winning video for the 100-year storytelling event. The winner of the video category is Jeff Schnabel. He did a concise and fully explanatory video of a statue called Married Love. The statues of Winston and Clementine Churchill. The original is at Blenheim House in England. The replica was brought through the efforts of the Kansas City branch to Kansas City. Funds were raised, the statue was put in place, and is going to be potentially recommemorated in 2024. All of this is explained very well in Mr. Schnabel's video. So I'm going to honor the uniqueness that comes out of all the branch efforts across the United States with ESU US. It's really a marvel, some of the projects that some of the branches take on and that they succeed with. And this is a very fine example of that kind of goal and that success. So without further ado, as they say, I'd like to introduce you to Jeff Schnabel, the current president of the Kansas City branch. Thank you.
Welcome to Kansas City. I'm Jeff Schnabel, president of ESU's Kansas City branch, and we're honored to present to you a story about a very special project that started in Kansas City nearly 4 decades ago. This Churchill statue was the result of many individuals and organizations lending support, and the ESU Kansas City branch played an important role in bringing this Churchill statue to Kansas City. It is prominently located in the heart of Kansas City's premier retail district called the Country Club Plaza, and thousands of people pass by it every day. The statue is a permanent tribute to one of the world's greatest statesmen, Sir Winston Churchill. Missouri has a long historic connection with Sir Winston. On March the 5th, 1946, Churchill gave his famous Iron Curtain speech on the campus of Westminster College in Fulton, Missouri.
From Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an iron curtain has descended across the continent.
There, with President Harry S. Truman in attendance, Churchill gave a speech that changed the world. Today, America's National Churchill Museum on the Westminster campus in Fulton stands as a permanent memorial to the life and legacy of Sir Winston. I'm delighted to have with me today Timothy Riley, the Director and Chief Curator of America's National Churchill Museum. Thank you for being with us today, Tim.
Well, thank you, Jeff. As we stand before this splendid sculpture, Married Love by Oscar Neyman, I'm reminded of what Winston Churchill himself declared was his greatest accomplishment. He once said, "My ability to persuade my wife to marry me was quite my most brilliant achievement." The fact that the English-speaking union here in Kansas City helped to make this magnificent work a reality here in the heartland is one of its most brilliant achievements. Churchill, who began his tenure as ESU's chairman 100 years ago, no doubt would be pleased to see this monument preserved and promoted so prominently here in America's heartland. I hasten to add, Lady Churchill, who had an even more discerning eye than her husband, would be pleased too. From the moment this monument was dedicated nearly 40 years ago to today, at a time when the work and mission of the English-speaking Union continues here in Missouri and throughout the United States, the ability to speak, listen, discern, and debate remain of great importance. For that, each of us owes a great debt of gratitude to Winston Churchill and the English-speaking Union. Congratulations to the ESU Kansas City branch and to all those who ensure the power of our language is harnessed fully, not only for today, but for another century to come.
Thank you, Tim. And now, as part of our own 100-year history in Kansas City, we have a story to tell.
In 1984, the Kansas City branch was a major benefactor and patron to help fund a permanent bronze statue of Winston and Clementine Churchill in a prominent location in Kansas City. The statue was designed by British sculptor Oscar Neyman, who had created several Churchill works. The sculpture, titled Married Love, is 6 feet by 12 feet and is a larger version of the original at Blenheim Palace in Oxfordshire, England, where Churchill was born and later proposed to Clementine. The ESU Kansas City branch held a major fundraising for the sculpture and arranged a live theatrical production about Churchill's life to spark interest. The production, titled Churchill, played for one evening on November 28, 1982. The benefit performance raised the funds needed to complete and maintain the $250,000 sculpture, which was dedicated on May 12, 1984, with Churchill's granddaughter, Edwina Sandys, and the Duke of Marlborough in attendance.
Brilliant, Jeffrey. Thank you so much. The ESU's staying power and influence lie in the dedication and generosity of its members, actively participating in branches across the country. As we celebrate everyone's contributions today, we would like to single out a special group of members, our longest serving members. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I'm thrilled to announce the English-Speaking Union Heritage Society that celebrates those of you who have been members for 20 years or more. It is your loyalty, enthusiasm, and belief in the ESU mission that have kept you with the ESU through thick and thin, through good times and hard times. I know I and my husband Michael Harold are part of the ESU Heritage Society, having been with the organization since the 1990s. We have stayed with the ESU for the sense of fulfillment, the feeling of joy, and the satisfaction of supporting and advancing the ESU's mission to bring people together through the use of the English language. It is a hard-earned honor. 20 years is a long time. Some of you have been with the ESU much, much longer, for 20, 30, 40, even 50 years. Your commitment has passed the test of time. Dear members of the ESU Heritage Society, we salute you. Congratulations again to all Heritage Society members. The final category in the 100 Years, 100 Stories contest is the narrative story. And who better to announce the winner than a published poet, a graduate of ESU educational program, an immigrant and an English language learner. Mr. Dudene Inde Baise is an accountant and poet from Cameroon. A graduate of the English-speaking Union Andrew Rome New Immigrant Center, he is currently studying at the Borough of Manhattan Community College and plans to pursue a degree in business and accounting at Baruch College with the aspiration of practicing as an accountant in the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dudene Inde Baise.
Hi everyone, my name is Judoni. I am an alumni and I have been given the opportunity to present Rose's well-written story titled Through the Pandemic. I graduated from ESU myself about 3 years ago, and to be quite honest, my life drastically changed. English, which was a barrier and a leading indicator of my nightmares, crumbled and life never be the same since then. What is really amazing with Rose's work is the fact that he highlighted the two most powerful emotions in the universe. What are those emotions? Love and fear. There's one paragraph I really like. I want to share with you. Paragraph 12. It says, if someone can teach you something invaluable, it is a new language that opens the gates to a new world. ESU was my guide on this beautiful journey. Learning a foreign language is not easy. It introduces us to a self-discovery journey. But look at the context, the pandemic, learning a foreign language during the pandemic. Isn't it a mix of love to want to do something, to want to achieve something for yourself, and the fear for your health, for your welfare, for your community? Wow, that's impressive, Rosie. Again, congratulations. So there is love for our peers, for our professors, for our classmates, for our passion, for our dreams, for all these things that we want to achieve for ourselves. But also, there is fear in the context of global pandemic for our health, for our lives, for our welfare, and uncertainty. Although English is a foreign language, for us, for immigrants, our love for people, for our dreams, for ourselves will ultimately dissolve the fear and self-doubt in our mind, but also determine the experience we are to meet during this pandemic. Thank you for that lesson, Rosie. I really admire your work. I really admire what you're doing, with the English, with your skills, your written skills. But also thank you for English Speaking Union. You've been an amazing guide to our self-discovery journey. Thank you for that. Thank you for you all. Cheers. I hope I'll see you soon one day.
Hi everyone. Let me introduce myself. I am Jose Rojas. I am from Venezuela. I came to the United States in 2018. So I've been living in New York City for almost 3 years. Officially, I am a former student of ARNIC program in the English Speaking Union for the period of 2020 and 21. As you can realize, my last class was just 2 weeks ago, and unfortunately, because I wasn't getting used to meet my professors, classmates, and tutors very often. But anyway, this is a moment for celebration. I would love to say it was an outstanding experience. I came from a country where in the current political circumstances, you can hear that charity, solidarity, and kindness do not have a place in the USA. But let me assure you from my own experience that it's the quite opposite. Our new program wasn't just a regular English course, it was a safe shelter where I found enough resources to start my new life, my new job, my new networking, and my new perspective of the future. So that is why I'm so grateful with English Speaking Union, and I really mean it. All that help that they are giving to immigrants to make a difference and change real lives. So that is why also I can say with confidence that the United States is still a great country for immigrants. Thanks, non-profit organization like ESU, and thanks people like you. So that is why I was eager to write about this experience, and even more because we were through a very tough moment, fighting against a dreadful pandemic, and we still made it. So here I go with my little story that I recall through the pandemic. I started this story from the living room of a small apartment on a modest table with 3 feeble chairs, 5 thin books, a portrait with familiar faces, next to a drawing of the earth hanging on my fridge that says, "I promise I will always take care of you." Inside of these 4 fragile walls, where we heard the noisy footsteps from upstairs or the bark of our neighbor's dog whenever he wanted to go out. By the way, all the time. We were there, surrounded by a pile of pizza boxes, coffee cups, my daughter's notebooks, her iPad, my laptop, face masks of various colors and sizes, a half a bottle of hand sanitizer, and our shoes next to the dirty clothes bag in the narrow hall. This was how our room looked. In the same building, I occasionally met my neighbor, a middle-aged lady who wore a purple uniform after she finished her shift. She was called an essential worker. She was exhausted and melancholic. I knew it because of her eyes more than her words. A portal that can speak on behalf of thousands of people working harder than ever to keep us breathing. I started this story from a not exceptional room, but in a remarkable time, accompanied by resilient people facing a dreadful pandemic from their bunkers, the places we have called our homes, and where we still stand up. This is at least my story in Brooklyn, New York, the city that never sleeps, have turned out for a moment to be the city of the goodbyes. Never before, so slow, so calm, the new face of one of the virus's epicenters. This was how the city looked. This is one of the side effects of living in an interconnected humanity. However, this story is about something more specific. the cyclical tale of the impulse for a normal life even in the darkest hours. It is about the window in which I kept contact with the external world in the middle of the pandemic, where I started to learn a new language and took my first steps to reach North America and its people. This notable window was the English-speaking Union of the United States. This story started in this apartment because ESU had to move to my home. It is not an exaggeration. Its orange brick facade, red door, white halls with its entire staff of professors and tutors made the room in my four fragile walls due to the prohibition of personal meetings. This was the challenge for ESU and its students. This organization has to reinvent itself using the newest technology to continue teaching and gathering people without the traditional lectural hall, although keeping the essential factor in the formula. The dedicated people were ready to adapt to the new circumstances. I think ESU did it well. We did it together, and I will tell you how we did it. Once the worldwide pandemic's alarm started in February 2020, USU closed its physical doors but opened its new virtual windows to accomplish its primary purpose: teach English. By the way, once Charlemagne said, "A second language is a second soul." I have started to believe him. Learning a second language has been rediscovering the same world with a different perspective. Having a second perspective allowed my mind to accept the possibility that I can be wrong in many ways. It gave me the certainty that there are other sides of the world hiding from my native words. Indeed, this process had consequences. The entire world became less static, permanent and solid, and more dynamic, changing and flexible. Maybe a little closer to the truth than the illusion. Therefore, my previous opinions got softer, and now it is more difficult to convince myself about immutable truths. A small example about this could be the several ways you can see in English, such as squint, peer, peep, stare, gape, glance, wink, watch, look, and see. The Spanish language doesn't have this precision concerning the verb to see. So now I can name different ways of seeing that were unknown to me before. Nevertheless, it is an interchangeable experience. We can call in Spanish the day before yesterday in one single word, antier. Or we can distinguish the camarade feeling for your friend, te quiero, to the romantic feeling for your spouse, te amo. In summary, if someone can teach you something invaluable, it is a new language that opens the gates to a new world. ESU was my guide on this beautiful journey. I can recall a couple of anecdotes about how it was. We attended classes and met our tutors through Zoom. Attending virtual classes had its advantages. For instance, I participate in a couple of lessons in my pajamas without anyone noticing. I woke up extremely late and yet I reached my grammar class on time. I ate and learned at the same time. A reason why I added a few extra pounds. I helped my daughter with her homework while I was in the breaking room practicing conjunctions as well. However, it also had its disadvantages. For example, in the middle of a lesson, all my classmates heard the flush of my toilet, or the argument with my wife about who left the drawer open, or they saw my roommate wearing no shirt. Such embarrassing moments. Although we learned the Zoom's tool of a virtual backgrounds, now it is not an issue anymore. Regarding the subjects in the program, one of my favorites was creative writing with Miss Karen. On the freezing and hard floor, I wrote, I will learn all the languages of the world to talk to you again, even when cosmic distances separate us, because I've thrown a sunflower of light and it has fallen in your garden on that blue-green planet with a warm climate could be my last chance. I learned more than just English with Miss Elaine using the material We Speak NYC. No one teaches you how to live in North America, but this material gives you good insights for a smoother begin. We learn about my workers' rights, Sunset Park, by the way, where I live now, 311 services, the food pantries, the career centers, and the workforce one. Even though the most meaningful gift that Elaine gave me was an invitation to a reading group. With this group, I immediately hooked on English literature. I have already read 5 entire books in English. I'm still in this group where I made new friends who visit me every Wednesday to drink coffee and share comments about the work of Marcus Samuelson, James McBride, Colin McCain, Cheryl Strait, and Celestine Nick. I improved my pronunciation with Miss Jane and her peculiar assistants, a mouth toy, a whistle, and rubber bands. If you have been in her classes, you know what I'm talking about. She saved us from the embarrassing mistakes of mispronouncing the words like focus, crab, or beach. I wish I had met her before my first interview when I said, I live in Bad Beach, Brooklyn, with an improper pronunciation. You can imagine how was the expression of my current boss's face. Also, Jane taught us English boxing. Punch, go back to punch again. In other words, the stress patterns that you must use to master the English pronunciation. Quite different from the marathons of Spanish, a machine gun of the same words. finally, what makes ESU different from other English programs in the city? The tutoring program. By far, it is never going to be the same experience in results between a program with only grammar classes and a program with native speakers ready to offer you 2 hours of a real intense conversation. With this program, I met lovely people: Serge, Gigi, Carol, and Dale. No concentration on grammar, but a real fluent conversation. They were not the regular sentences that you learn in a boring book like I wake up, I take a shower, I play the guitar. Instead, we discussed the landscapes of Thomas Cole, the NYC rent freeze program, the effects of $15 minimum wage in the US. We wonder, is American still a model for the world? What is cheesesteak made of? And where does it come from? In a nutshell, everyday issues that discusses an average New Yorker with an opinion about everything. We did it. I took a city bag and rode from my home to American Veterans Memorial Pier. There was the end of this story on a sunny day in May, with a view of downtown Manhattan, the tiny Statue of Liberty on the west, the smell of the sea, the breeze against my face. I could almost taste the salt on my lips. I sat, wondering, how does it feel to be an immigrant in America? The only word possible was welcome. I felt welcome. I'm still feeling it. Thanks, ESU, for the warmest welcome. This is the
Wow, Jose, what an entertaining and moving story. Thank you very much. And now it is time to unveil the winner of the door prize raffle. But first, let's take a look at what is in the stylish yet practical ESU branded tote bag. It is full of British goodies, of course: digestive biscuits, Cadbury chocolates, Wilkin & Sons raspberry preserves, and of course, Marmite. There are several ESU limited edition memorabilia, including ESU Centennial silk scarf and pocket square, and a lapel pin, among others. And also books, food for the soul, if you will, including The Making of the Oxford English Dictionary by Peter Gilliver. Many of you remember him as a keynote speaker at the 2018 New Orleans Annual General Meeting. He was also a Sir Evelyn Lynch speaker. A copy of Colin McCain's Let the Great World Spin. This was a winner of the 2009 National Book Award for fiction. And also, our book club, actually in New Orleans, selected this book as one of its readings one year, and it's a delight. It's also a 2011 International Dublin Literary Award. And another book, brilliant writer Hermione Lee, her acclaimed biography of Edith Wharton, one of the most famous American women of letters. So let's get started. Josh, please spin the wheel. And the winner is?
And I'm happy to announce that the winner is Jeffrey Schnabel. Congratulations, Jeff.
Congratulations indeed. One of the ESU members of the Heritage Society, no less. So what a memorable evening we've had. As with all remarkable events, it takes many to bring together an evening like this. I would like to thank again all of you who submitted stories to the 100 Years, 100 Stories project, and congratulations to all the contest winners. Your stories inspired us all. A big thank you to the judging panel who read through many pages, watched videos, and looked at photos, and had the impossible task of choosing a winner. I also want to thank all of you who are present tonight and who participated in the auction and made a donation. Your gifts make ESU programs and activities possible. And finally, I would like to give a shout out to the organizing team. Executive Director Karen Karpowicz, Director of Branch Services Josh Keppel-Gonzalez, Communications Manager Laura Van der Heide, and Angela Larson, ESU Comptroller in charge of the auction, and for the enormous amount of effort they have put into making this evening so enjoyable and inspiring. And to Rosanna Ivanova, who has helped me so much with keeping me in line. Thank you. Thank you all again for your support and enthusiasm. We appreciate it.